Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 The Howl. We are at the halfway point of the season already for the Utah Mammoth, and the roller coaster seems to keep on chugging along. And it seems like after every loss, it seems catastrophic across the fan base. We expect so much more from this team, especially after the first 10 games of being top in the league, going 8-2, but 30 games away from that. It's just been up and down, no consistency. The Mammoth consistently inconsistent. Right now, they are 18, 19, and 3, good for 26th in the league in terms of absolute points and 27th in the league in terms of points percentage. So let's get into this surface area metrics. In the past 10 games, we saw Logan Cooley get injured right at that 30-game progress report. I didn't know how serious it was going to be. It wasn't announced, and now he's out long term. Maybe we'll see him before the Olympic break, maybe after the Olympic break. Vejmelka missed the last 2 games with an injury. I mean, at the 50-game progress report, I hope it's just these two goalies. Well, we could get a new backup, but I really do hope that there's no Vialta or Stauber on this board. The longer Vejmelka is out, the more this season is more in the trajectory of a lost season, even though it's already heading that way. They list Vejmelka as day-to-day. He's retroactively on injured reserve from the Avalanche game. It's not long-term injured reserve, so he's eligible to come back to play as soon as next game. You only need to be a week on injured reserve, so we'll see what happens there. And Alex Kerfoot draws back into the lineup, adds some smarts, some good details to the game, good on faceoffs in a pinch if Stenlund takes a bad penalty like he did against Nashville. He's also brings some more offensive talent and skill on that fourth line. Would love to see Tanev back in the lineup. I feel like O'Brien's playing way too much. Seems like every game O'Brien's in the lineup. Tanev scratched the 8 out of the past 10 games. He still is third on the team in hits. He's fast. I want to see him played with Stenlund and Kerfoot. I think that's a great fourth line, and I'm surprised why they still haven't tried it out. So already talking about points percentage, it's down from the 30-game mark. Goals for has dropped below 3 goals per game, which is bad. It needs to be 3 or higher. That's decreased as well. Goals against per game is too high at 2.9. You need that like 2.6 to make the playoffs, 2.7 at most. Power play, 29th in the league, even though it's up from the 30 game mark by nearly 1 percentage point. It's still pretty rough. It's not consistent. They scored 6 of 33 opportunities in the past 10 games, which is good for about 18%. So it has been better than the previous, 20 games, the past 10 game block, but still it doesn't seem dangerous consistently. Power play number 2 was actually outscoring power play number 1 in the past 10 games, and it seemed like PP1 was struggling a lot, but they got a goal against Nashville, so hopefully they could build on that. PK has increased, but it's still top 10 in the league, so that's a great metric right there. 82.3% on the season. Save percentage has increased a little bit, but still 22nd in the league. You need at least league average competent goaltending. Shot percentage is down. Shooting percentage at 21st in the league at 10.4. Shots on goal per game is slightly up, but pretty much the same. Good for 11th in the league. That's not too bad. Shots against has increased to 25.1, which is good for second in the league. The gap has shrunk. It was around 4.5 to 4, but now the gap is around 3.5. You want that gap to still be around 4 or higher. You need more shots on goal than shots on goal against. Faceoffs has been improving. It's almost up. It's about a percentage and a half point at 24th. A lot of our centers are above the 50% mark. Stenlund leads away at 53. Hayden and McBain are hovering just above 50%, which is great. Schmaltz is at around 45.7%. Again, he's not a natural center, but he seems to be doing a pretty okay job in a pinch now that Logan Cooley is injured. Maybe they could shuffle lines around. Kerfoot could play center. And we've seen Keller Kerfoot and Schmaltz last year with the hockey club. So maybe we might see that in the next 10 games. And hits per game is down, probably due to Tanev not playing. And McBain leads away with about 3 hits per game. He has 132 hits on the season. Krause at 106. And then Tanev, like I said, at 76 hits, still third on the team, even though he hasn't played much recently. And Carcone's fourth with 65 hits. Tanev brings that intensity, that speed, veteranness, if that's even a word. So again, we'd like to see him in the lineup. Let's get to individual stats. Before we get there, just want to say the 4 losses that there's been 4 losses in the past 10 games, that all 4 of those losses were only 1-goal decisions. So even though at times a power play goal here and there might win you a game, some better offense or some better defense, like we saw against Nashville, a lot of puck watching, goaltending could be better in those 4 1-goal game losses as well. The past 10 games, Utah Mammoth have been 4-6-0. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. 4-6-0 in their past 10. From games 20 to 30, they were 4-6-0. From 10 to 20, they were 2-5-3. And we all know the first 10 games, they were 8-2. So it's been more down than it has been up for sure since the 10-game mark. And they've been flirting with NHL 500 for about the past 30 games. And now, unfortunately, they're finally 1 game below NHL 500. But they could go on a 2, 3, 4-game win streak and be in the playoffs. Right now, they're 2 points out of the playoff spot. They've played a lot of games. A lot of teams chasing them have games in hand. So if Utah wants to turn this around, they got to do it quickly. And there is a pivotal point in the schedule coming up really soon where they can do that. They got a short 3-game road trip upcoming against New York State teams, and then it's a 7-game homestand. And that could be a pivotal moment in the season. It could go 2 ways. They go on a big win streak, maybe go 5-2 on that 7-game homestand, hopefully 6-1 or 7-0, and this is all forgotten. Or it goes into the trajectory of you sell off whatever assets you can, you recoup draft picks, and you draft high and just make changes in the offseason and be much better next season. That's the fork in the road they're currently at once they finish up this 3-game road trip. We'll go to individual players. Schmaltz and Keller with identical goal and assist and point totals, 12 goals, 21 assists, 33 points. That is normal and average for Schmaltz. For Keller, it's way below average. We saw Keller reach 90 points, a career high last year. For me and his career average, he's about an 80-point guy, a point per game guy. Like 90 was really high for him. So he's lower than his career average right now. He's on pace for just 66 points. So we're missing 10 or a little bit over 10 points from Clayton Keller. Dylan Guenther, really ecstatic of how he's played since Logan Cooley went down. He's got 10 points in the past 10 games, leading the team in scoring. He looked like the best forward out there against Nashville. He's been consistent, whereas other players haven't been consistent, like Keller, like maybe Schmaltz. But Schmaltz, he does have 8 points in the past 10 games. Keller, 7 points in the past 10 games. Also, players with 7 points. Dursey, 7 points in the past 10 games. And Sergachev, 7 points in the past 10 games. Peterka, with 15 goals, 13 assists, 28 points. He's on pace for 30 goals, which is exactly what we expected from him. Sure, his goals aren't those highlight reel flashiness goals we saw from Buffalo, but the fact that he's scoring, he's going to the net, he's playing himself in great positions to receive a pass and score is good. Maybe a little bit more from him, 6 points in the past 10 games. But again, he's on pace for a career average of 30 goals, which is great and what we expected. Sergachev, he finally scored with a shot from the point. He just needs to shoot more, especially on the power play. Add some deceptiveness to PP1. Maybe teams know that Sergachev is never going to shoot, so just block and clog up the passing lanes. Maybe that's why PP1 has been stuck in a rut. He's got 26 points in 40 games played. Our secondary scoring has sort of dried up. Krause, only 4 points in the past 10. Hayden, 4 points. Carcone 3, McBain 2 points, and Schmidt 1 point in the past 10 games. So need that secondary scoring to come up. Boot as well. He's always in the right areas. He's always so close to scoring, but just is not putting puck in the net. And that's just like a systemic problem for the team of being right there, but not being able to put the puck in the net. They showed a graphic on the broadcast. I don't have a picture, but Dylan Guenther is top 2 or even the most game-winning goals in the calendar year of 2025, and that leads to Vejmelka, who is also a top goaltender in the calendar year 2025 with some of the most wins on the year. So good job to Vejmelka. Hopefully he comes back as soon as next game. His goalie stats look good, 16, 10, and 2, which is a great win-loss record. An 894 save percentage. Yeah, it could be a little bit better at 900, but that's still good. And goals against average 2.7, could be a little bit lower at 2.6, but that is good and fine as well. If the team had these stats instead of 885 and 2.9, they'd be in a playoff spot and be much better and higher in the standings. Vanacek 2-9-1, 879 to 292. He's been a bad backup, even though he's played good games like against the Avalanche, a 1-0 loss. You can't ask more from him. There was a Calgary game, that was game 39, but again, a 1-0 loss. He was pretty rough against Boston in a 4-1 loss. Against Nashville, you would like a save here and there, but the team as a whole really needed to lock it down after that third period lead. But at the end of the day, you look at the bulk, we're halfway through the season, and this is not good backup goaltender numbers. If we had an average backup, we'd have more points on the board. We'd have more wins. Vejmelka would get some rest. We wouldn't be so heavily relied on Vejmelka. If Vejmelka's out long term, the season's is a lost season. We cannot rely on Vanacek, and his numbers prove that. Even though there is games where it's like, man, he could be good, but it's either the team in front of him plays worse when he's in net, or he just can't make those clutch saves. But then, like I said, those performances against the Avalanche and Flames, he makes a diving save against Nashville, like a desperation save to keep the game 3-2. But then it's 2 quick goals in the slot because of bad D coverage. You don't get the save. He guesses on some of those Stamkos goals where it just goes blocker side or something like that. Just not stable enough as a backup, not consistent enough as a backup. You need better backup goaltending over there, but is definitely not the reason why the Mammoth are where they are. It's that consistent inconsistency by the team, and every department drops the ball. It's either the offense is good one game and then it's bad the next, or the defense is really good one game and then it's bad the next. Like how they played against the Avalanche in that Calgary game was game 29. In game 39 against the Avalanche, like they played perfect. The offense could have scored a lot more. They didn't score any, but they generated a lot of chances. Defense was perfect, goaltending perfect, and then we go to Nashville. The offense actually shows up, scores goals, but the defense is bad, and the goaltending needed to be better as well. So they got to pick it up. Like I said, they got a 7-game homestand coming up soon. That is the deciding factor of the season. Hopefully we get good injury news on Cooley and Vejmelka, but it seems like we're at a crossroads, and we all expect the team to make the playoffs and get themselves out of this rut. But there's that glaring fork in the road, and the stats, some of these stats show where this is a bottom, 8-7 team, and they're probably closer to a high lottery pick than they are the playoffs in the next 10 games. So we'll see what happens at game 50. Around game 50, it should be nearing the Olympic break and the trade deadline, and then you'll start to see what types of moves Bill Armstrong makes. If you want a coaching change, it's not going to happen, especially the head coach. I don't think they're going to fire the head coach. The power play coach, they should have fired like a month ago, and they still haven't. And now that the power play is sort of better, they're not going to fire him. We saw what happens with the Leafs. They fired their power play coach, and already they have 3 goals in 2 games on the power play. So I wish that happened sooner. So the fact that it's gone on this long and it's been this consistently bad, the power play, the 6-on-5, they're like 0 for 43 on the franchise. of Utah. If they were going to do it, they would have done it already. And I think as each game gets played, they're going to make changes in the offseason rather than mid-season, which some fans might be upset about that. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.